Well, as you know, I teach at the University of Virginia, which was founded by Thomas Jefferson, and he was extremely proud of the fact that he founded the university because he felt that you could not have a democracy without an educated citizenry. I think he would be concerned today. He would be concerned because we have a society that's totally dependent on technology, a society that's addicted to technological change, a society that's making both personal and governmental decisions every day that depend on technology, and yet largely by a citizenry which is ignorant of that technology.
Technological literacy. It's an issue that's becoming more and more important in today's society. We all agree that reading and writing are fundamental skills. But in today's high-tech world, technological literacy is becoming just as important. Responsible citizens need to understand technology in order to make informed public and personal decisions. Without this literacy, our society is at risk. And that's why in October 1998, IEEE hosted a workshop in Baltimore with over 100 educators and engineers attending. The purpose was to explore how these two diverse groups could work together to enhance technological literacy in our schools. The name of this workshop, TLC, Technological Literacy Counts.
I think for citizens to be literate in technology is critical because our society is a technology-oriented community.
That doesn't mean that we want them all to become engineers. What we want to do is to make sure that as a public person, as a citizen, they're going to have an appreciation for technology because technology is just so important to their lifestyle and perhaps the roles that they're going to play in society.
All parents believe that technology is incredibly important to their students. The parents I typically talk to think, though, that technology ends with computers. And so there's a clear need to educate not only our students and our teachers, but also our communities and our parents.
Well, technological literacy is a dimension that would be the competencies and outlooks and understandings that everybody needs, whether you're going to be a dentist, an attorney, or a plumber.
People have to make decisions in the government, in voting for the government, that affect technology and that are affected by technology. And if we make those decisions in ignorance, we won't make them well. I see that happen in Congress all the time. So we need a population which is broadly technologically literate.
Without encouraging technological literacy in the schools, we won't have a workforce who can help us make even greater technological contributions.
That technological literacy is a universal problem. It's a problem that one finds all over the world. And if South Africa wants to develop, South Africa needs technologically literate people.
One of the strongest recommendations to come out of the TLC workshop was that engineers can be an invaluable resource to educators teaching technical subjects. But there were a few cautionary notes.
Engineers don't understand what schools are like, and schools don't understand what engineering is like. So that's one of the problems that you need to get over first, is you can't have engineers going into school and knowing absolutely nothing about it. You can't have teachers pretending to do things that relate to technology in the world outside when they don't understand it.
There's a big difference between what engineers think about education and the reality of education. If we're going to make this successful, we've got to educate the engineers as to the reality of the school system and how teaching is really done.
We can't just take an engineer and put that engineer in the classroom. The engineer has to understand what the level of the class is, what the teacher has to face, the time restrictions, what is attempted to be achieved by the curriculum, various standards that have to be met. And these are things that an engineer normally would not know.
In education, we work real well collaboratively and don't react real well if it's somebody tries to shove it down your throat, so to speak.
Just brainstorming and coming up with solutions independent of how the education system actually works is really dangerous. And I think engineers are, for one thing, not aware of everything that goes into play and all the different players and all the different hoops you have to jump through to make even small changes in the education system.
You just don't walk in to a classroom of students these days and not know what you're going to say or what you're going to do. And certainly a major key in all that is understanding the student.
It's very easy to sort of lose the respect of students by not understanding where they're coming from. So I think it's very important to spend some time talking with teachers and with other engineers who've actually gone into the classroom before, because you have to be able to sometimes explain very difficult engineering concepts in terms that an 8-year-old or 14-year-old would understand.
An engineer would have to know a little bit about the development of teenagers, what their interests are. They should also know something about the curriculum and a lot about, well, not a lot about teaching, but about teaching, how educators or how teachers teach, what happens in the classroom, so that they'll feel comfortable coming into the classroom and interacting with kids.
Engineers talk about having, a deadline every week or every month, but high school teachers that teach 6 classes have 6 deadlines every single day. And you have a consumer base that is well aware if you've not met your deadline.
Some participants felt that the most effective way to enhance the teaching of subjects like math, science, and technology is to reach teachers while they are still in undergraduate programs.
We're talking about creating students that are technologically literate with a teacher base that may not be technologically literate.
I think that this generation of teachers, the teachers who are now in the classrooms, were not prepared to teach technology. However, I think that we can work with the colleges of education and the colleges of engineering to relieve this problem for future generations. For the present generation of teachers, we must educate them and provide them materials.
I think the idea of an education degree is probably a pretty good idea for people who teach K through 5. Give them, the way our system's structured now, give them a pretty good background in how to teach and, as much content as you can within the course of 4 years. But I think as they move into the upper level, into the 6 through 12, the primary issue is content area. And I think it'd be much better if we had our teachers majoring in math and science and engineering and English and that sort of thing, and have an education minor as an option, so that they still pick up the courses that go through some of the learning theory and some of the child psychology, that sort of thing, that is definitely beneficial when they get into a classroom, but that their main emphasis is, what is it you're going to be teaching? Are you really an expert in your subject area?
Is there a better way to motivate students? Our participants thought so.
We can talk about how pulleys and levers and balances in individual context don't mean much, but when we talk about how elevators work, or we talk about how we weigh animals on scales, then the technology really does come to life. We have to give everyday active examples of how technology impacts us, where we live and where we work and where we go to school.
I'm working with kids this year on studying insects. We're researching insects of Maine. And the culminating activity is going to be building a 3-dimensional model of an insect out of wood and fabric, and having that insect function in 3 different ways. So this is a year-long technology problem that integrates the whole curriculum.
I want to give them thinking skills. I want them to become independent learners. I don't want to really give them a project and have them come up to me and say, now what do I do next? What do I do next? I want them to look at the project, look at the overall goal of what the project is and say, wow, I can do this. I can make this work.
I'm afraid so often in this country that we have seen memorization be the method of learning, and the evaluation and assessment of what a child has learned has been judged by their ability to bring back to to memory that kinds of material. And the real thing that I'm interested in and that I work with my students was to see whether or not they were critical thinkers and problem solvers.
And so we went into this elementary classroom of kindergartners, all sitting on the carpet like this. And we had 2 hours to teach packaging to 5-year-olds. That's enough. The first hour was spent talking about the ideas of packaging. You know, they brought out of a box Wheaties and a pop bottle and all these things. Kept saying, what are all these things? Oh, pop bottle, box, and so forth. But if all together, what are they? He said, oh, they're all packages. Oh, why do we package things? They started identifying, you know, things that it makes you want to buy it. It protects it while it's being traveled. It's got information on it, what's in it, you know. When they got done identifying that, it was amazing. Every one of the things those 5-year-olds identified were courses over at the university in a packaging engineering curriculum. They knew. And then we put them to work on, do you think you could build a device to protect something like a package?
Always challenge them with open-ended problems. I think the results will be astounding. The kids are not afraid to do things that are unconventional and unique. They'll make unusual combinations of ideas, and they'll draw analogies that most older students would not even think about drawing.
So they came back on Friday, and these kids had to solve this design problem. And it was to take the egg off the top of East Elementary School, 3 stories onto blacktop. And they came up with exciting solutions like popcorn and Jell-O, and you know, and they built these packages, and the janitor went up on top of the school and threw them over the top, and they were down there and watched all this happen. And you know that 66%, 2 out of 3 eggs made it with a 5-year-old solution dropping 3 stories onto blacktop. Fabulous. They'll never forget it, ever.
Professional societies like the IEEE have a worldwide network of engineers. This constitutes a powerful resource for promoting technological literacy.
I think the technical societies act as terrific lobbying groups for the entire technological literacy effort, lobbying groups with industry, lobbying groups with government. Because in order to really do a good job in this nation on increasing the technological literacy of the populace, costs money. You can't only do it with volunteers. And that money is going to have to come from the government, who's got to understand that this is an important national priority.
The school has often become the family for the child, and the school has so many things to do that it needs the support of these professional societies and groups.
Well, actually, the meeting that you're holding here today is a perfect example of the sorts of things that you can do. The notion of involving engineers and educators together in discussing this issue, I think, is brilliant. And because the membership of the associations are spread out all over the country, you really have the opportunity to replicate this in virtually every local community.
By the end of the workshop, engineers and educators alike gained enthusiasm and appreciation for what each can contribute to enhancing technological literacy in the schools. Together, they will make a difference.
Even when I was a student and was introduced to engineering as a career back in the 70s and early 80s, I honestly thought that an engineer was the person who toot-toot on the train. So I know that if I had that perception, that there still may be students who hear the term but don't really know what it means.
Every instance I've seen where engineers and scientists and teachers interact, it's usually been very, very good. We don't have a system to do it yet. So in a sense, we need systemic reform of this issue. There are 20, 25 years of robust development of ideas on what technological and scientific literacy are. There are books written about it. There are course modules written about it. There are warehouses full of this stuff. And the system hasn't been formed out of it.
I don't think we have ever seen the need as educators to tap the resources of engineers or other professionals. And likewise, I don't know that until this time that engineers have seen the value of working with and communicating with teachers.
I think engineers and educators have a lot to offer. They both have the same problem at hand. They both are trying to take knowledge and do something useful with it. In one case, I might produce a robot or I might produce a new energy system. In the teacher's case, they're trying to make a child productive for the future. They're helping to form that child into something that will be useful to society down the road.
I'm in awe of what engineers do with their time and what they're able to accomplish. Engineers need to be in awe of what 12-year-olds accomplish.
If I can get a child in my classroom who won't leave for break and won't leave for lunch and misses the school bus because he's too involved in his project, he's too involved in what he's doing with that technology, then I know I'm in trouble, but I know he's on the right track.
The TLC workshop does not stand alone. It's a springboard to future activities that will build bridges between engineers and educators through a variety of programs and activities. The TLC workshop was just the beginning. At the end of the TLC workshop, the engineers and educators agreed that certain actions must be taken to promote technological literacy worldwide. These are training for both engineers and educators to maximize collaboration, an increase in public awareness of the need for technological literacy, support for education reform, and standards for math, science, and technology education, and a network of engineers and educators to continue what the workshop started.